I'm curious your thoughts on story. I was watching your show. I've noticed it from just telling stories on stage and just watching other comedians tell stories. I've noticed the way that I react when I see stories. I notice the way that, like, when you're with a group of people and one person begins a story, the group just shuts the fuck up. Now, if the story sucks, eventually people will move on. But everybody's given like a few seconds if the story is set up right. Is there something biologically wired in our brain to like pay attention to this, to react in a way? Like even with the cuttlefish story you told, did you notice the energy shift in the room?
I mean, at that moment, I'm just in it, as you know, as like on stage, like
I felt a shift, man.
Yeah, I mean, I love
like we're still
experience.
learning things, but we're learning it through story, which is like,
better.
I think it's a more impactful way.
Yeah. So without question, story is the most powerful way to communicate information.
Yeah.
Just no question. I mean,
why?
I wish I knew. Here, you know, it's not often I'm lost for words, but this is one of those cases. We can't point to a specific biological mechanism.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you it's because of this, that, and the other thing. But here's a couple of hard biological findings that are really cool. If we were to each listen to the same story in separate rooms, and we start the story at different times, maybe even on different days, and I track your heart rate, my heart rate, and his heart rate, and then we were to look, your baseline heart rate would be different than everyone else's and vice versa.
But the adjustments?
Map almost perfectly. This is a study that was published in Cell Reports last year. And I love this because, we're coming up on the holidays here, and like you never want to timestamp a podcast this way or time capsule it this way. But you know, when we read story and we hear story together, we synchronize our physiology.
Yeah.
This is one of the coolest studies ever. And so there's something about sharing the same physiological response. And look, it doesn't all boil back down to sex, but as long as we have an opportunity to talk about sex in a healthy context, what is sex? Okay, sex is reproduction in some contexts, not others.
Shared
sex is a form of, but you're taking your physiologies and you're saying, to some extent, I'm gonna let you control my physiology and I'm gonna control your physiology in a consensual way, right? That's consensual sex. And when we listen to story, whether or not, let's say I listen to a story, you know, Eastern European time, 9 p.m., and you're listening to it at 8 a.m., and we're totally out of sync, but our heart rates map onto the same contour.
So I had
So that's the best answer I've got for you.
This is awesome.
That's the best. That's in terms of data. And that paper is one of my favorite papers.
Let's work on this because I'm really excited about this. As I've started to do bigger venues, you know, when we're on tour, we've been doing, it starts at, you're doing comedy clubs, 300 seats, then you're doing 1,000, 2,000, radio cities, 6,000. And I started to go, okay, the way that we hold attention in bigger spaces has to be different. And I don't think that everything has to be story. I think that you need to like mix things up. But I have noticed, it's so funny that you said that, but I have noticed that story can wrap up a room of many more people. When there's 30, 40 people, we can do premises, quick ideas, pot shot jokes, misdirection, that kind of stuff. But holding 10,000, you need everybody to have similar reactions at similar times. And I've been thinking about this for a fucking year straight going, how do I do 20,000? How do I hold 20,000 and have everybody waiting for that moment for the laugh to happen? And you tell me right now that when people listen to a story, they all have the same reaction in those same moments, opposed to like just giving an opinion or like stating a premise. Some people might disagree. They might get turned off. They might be upset. Some people might find it hilarious. But a story, even if it upsets you, you're still reacting with all those other people.
That's right.
That shared reaction.
It's like waves on the ocean. We're all going up and down together on the same boat.
And before he started doing movies with The Rock, who was the biggest touring comic in decades?
Yeah,
Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart's doing fucking The Link in
That's how you fill that space.
And that's how you get everybody in the same place. You're doing a football
you look at Chappelle, you know, he's been able to do these like massive venues. He's an incredible storyteller.
Oh yeah, in that last special where he's talking about his friend from San Francisco, from San Francisco, weaves that through. And when you talk about dance, I mean, we used to gather and, you know, people would hunt together, people would cook together, people would sing together, people would dance together. Storytelling, I mean, it's been said we're the storytelling species.
No, it seems like a cheat code almost, to be honest, to like convey information. I mean, I even look at like, You know, sometimes when I'm trying to get inspiration, I do it outside of comedy. Like I'll even look at like politicians who are very like charismatic. I'm like, why are they charismatic? What are they doing? And like, I was watching an old Bill Clinton interview. Regardless of what you think about fucking Bill Clinton, he's undeniably charismatic, right? And that's why he was able to be president of the United fucking States, right? Despite
and
all
get
the
away
shit.
with what he got away with.
Exactly. Despite all the shit that had
People
going on.
forget. Just as a point, I'm still amazed. And they're like,
It's
listen,
unbelievable.
politics aside, like,
It's unbelievable.
I know people that still love him,
Yeah.
despite the fact that he got caught lying. And they're just like, they kind of forgave him almost because he forgave himself. It seemed like he forgave himself, and so people forgave him.
I mean, there was wilder shit he was accused of. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Cheating is the least of his issues.
Yeah, I'm very, and I'm not playing Dodge here, but I'm very naive when it comes to
You're happier
politics.
because of it.
Because it just confuses me because I feel like there's no data.
It's worse than alcohol for recovery. But the point is, I was watching him on one of these late night shows, and he was asked a question about the climate or something like that. And he didn't just give a data answer. He told a story. He's like, you know what? When I was in South Carolina, I remember once, and there's this guy, and he came up to me, and he talked to me. And everybody just gets immediately wrapped into this story about, and he somehow proves that it's affecting coal miners or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But through the story, and it had like a little funny punchline at the end, and I'm like, wow, that's the greatest answer I've ever heard on this. It was absolutely amazing. I'm like, this is a superpower.
Yeah.
Learning how to use that. But the fact that everybody's reacting in the same moment, that's how you fill those spaces. That was so helpful. That's so helpful.
I'll pass you the study.
Please.
Because you have a degree in psychology from our alma mater.
That's true.
The study
you
is...
and I are almost the same when you think about it. In that regard. Yeah.
I'm just not as funny as you are.
Yeah, there we go. That's the only difference.
Or as tall,
The
or as good a
only
dancer.
difference.
Or as good a dancer.
Listen, you got
Or
a
as
few more
obsessed with
inches
feet.
of dick.
Or as obsessed with feet. But in any case, it's a really interesting study because the first one that I'm aware of that really sees it, different rooms, different times of day, different subjects, same story. And of course, you're going to get people that have greater and lesser reactions to a story. Some people like it more or less. Some people have different attention, but they lay out the curves and they just map onto one another. You go, oh my goodness. I saw this when I
It's
saw.
also why we want to watch shows together. And I mean this like, every Sunday there would be like the HBO show that comes on at 9 o'clock, whether it was Game of Thrones or, it doesn't matter or whether it was AMC with Mad Men, it didn't matter. But like, we do want that group experience. We do want to watch a show.
Movie theaters.
The movie theaters, like being in there with all these people.
And a movie is the story, for an hour and a half. We're all just in the same place.
We want to feel that. We want to have those reactions. We want to be scared and have everybody go, together. Yeah, the story is the thing that, wow, I didn't think about it like that. A story is something that creates, what do you say, shared physiological
we could think about it as resonance. It's like a feeling that we're kind of one and the same. We felt the same about the same things, even if we don't know. It's somewhat subconscious. I remember I saw Joe Rogan, no last name needed, but Joe Rogan, do comedy at the Vulcan Club down. He does that some midweek sometimes in Austin. And he's got this bit, I won't even try and repeat what it is, but it's hilarious. But he's leading you down this path and you're thinking, oh no, he's not going there. But you kind of know where he's going, but you're not sure. And it was amazing because I was like, wow, I'm not sure if it's leading to a surprise or a confirmation of where I think he's going.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, it doesn't matter. We are all on that ship with him. And then, of course, the end is great, and I don't even want to cue people to it because if you haven't heard it for the first time, it's amazing. It's amazing the third time because I've seen it 3 times. But his ability to spool out the narrative, because you have to keep people on board. Because we all know that guy or that girl who starts a story and then you're like, oh my God, where's this going? Like, is this going? That's... So
but that's often because there's no information gap. Like, there's nothing that we want to know.
That's right.
Creating that information gap, our curiosity spikes, and we're like, all right, well, take me there. Like, it's the horror movie, right? You're like, what's down the hallway?
Right.
Is somebody following her? Is somebody outside? You got to create that. And I think the people that don't tell the stories well, they just create no information gap. They give you all the information.
That's right. In great courtroom, drama is really about bringing I have friends who are lawyers who do criminal court and civil court where a ton is on the line and they create a narrative about the other person. They use the person actually to fill in words to create the narrative they want. So they create this argument using other people's words. Lawyers are masterful. The really good ones are masterful at getting a narrative into the jury's mind.
Some of that. That'd be great. Just seeing how they build narrative, build curiosity. Alex used to work in the court system. So
I would see it. And the best lawyers were the best storytellers. Like everyone's just like, we're just like engaged, and it's like, yeah.
Really? So notable difference when there is someone who is really good.
Oh yeah. And then the bad ones are the ones that are just giving you the info. They're just like, this thing happened at this time. And
This is
it's
why, I'm in the health and...
you didn't sell me. You got to sell me on it. Right.
And would you see someone who you thought might have been guilty? Would you see like, wow, the reaction from people change?
Yeah, and that's why having a good lawyer is so important. Because it's like, even if the person is innocent or guilty, if the other lawyer can convey it better, it's like you can get that person off.
This might be a reach, but is that why the media is so powerful? Because they write the story, and once they craft the narrative and get everybody into it, it's set.
Yeah, I mean, I think about, I try and avoid like serial killer crime stuff because it's dark and it's out there, and like I don't want to focus on that now. But I was living in Davis when there was a whole Scott Peterson, Lacey Peterson murder.
Yeah.
When she was pregnant. It was really around me. At one point, they discovered body parts in this canister not far from where my lab was at that time. And it turned out that was a guy working at the coroner's office who was taking his work home, but he wasn't involved in the murders. It wasn't her body. But there were all these things happening, and then he died. Remember, then Scott Pearson dyed his hair, ran for Mexico. He had this thing with this woman who was his massage therapist, and they literally had footage or of him saying, oh, yeah, I'm here in Paris under the Eiffel Tower. And there he was at the vigil for his dead wife. The media did a masterful job of piecing together all these things that basically set him up. And from what I understand, he's guilty, right? I don't know. I wasn't there. But the
Good album.
but they pieced together this thing of like all these behaviors, created this story of this guy who was a liar, a cheater, a guy who would try and disguise himself and leave, but they never actually got him directly to confess or anything like that. So they create this narrative that you go like, this guy killed his wife and his unborn child, and he should go to prison forever. Maybe he got the death penalty. I can't remember. I think they reversed on it. Anyway, the point is that like the media created a narrative about him. Yeah. Well, right now, Liz Holmes is going to get sentenced in a few days, right? Theranos, company with all these blood tests and the fabricated stuff. She's been found guilty. I watched, Bad Blood, I think is the story around her is so powerful that, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. So I'm really curious to see what happens. But the media lives on
information gap.
They live on the story. And it's like, why haven't they sentenced her yet? Like, let's get the show on the road. Yeah. She's had 2 kids while she's been out on bail. Now she's a mother, an expecting mother with a kid. So smart. Now there's a sympathy weave and and so, listen, I don't know who did what, but the media is masterful at doing this. Politicians, on the other hand, at least as far as I can tell, are just trying to navigate the next 12 hours of the news cycle and make someone else look bad so that the lens is off them. I think this is why really good people don't run for office. There are a few good ones out there. Like I'm a fan of a few of them, but most of it's just kind of like protect oneself and point fingers at everyone else for 12 hours, 12 hours. It's pretty ugly.
It's a survival
business.
game, and then just
no visionaries. Like right now, I think we need visionaries, and we need people who can get out there and tell stories.
But also, it's like, who would do it? Right? Like, you think about what you go through, like the scrutiny, like even our friends, what they've gone through, like Joe being in his position and having so much power and influence, and then just putting his name behind a candidate, and then immediately the next day having an onslaught of media narratives.
Doesn't matter he supported Bernie, then now it's something look.
So imagine that's you. Like, imagine you're already a billionaire. I look at all these guys who are independently wealthy, and they're like, well, why doesn't Jeff Bezos run for president? It's like, why would they?
Because he loves his life.
Exactly. It's like, it makes your life horrible. They're going to look at what your kids do. They're going to do everything they possibly can to make you radioactive and just destroy any semblance of happiness you have. We have a system where it actually behooves you to already be a piece of shit before you run.
I think everyone who runs for office should make their second speech all the things that they did wrong that they can remember, and then ask whether or not people still want them to run. And let people like post to that list. Like, let's not waste the time. Right? So it's just like, here's all the terrible stuff.
This is
I can
Eminem, the 8 Mile, like Eminem and 8. That's what you just drop a freestyle.
I think everyone would be better off.
Right?
I think we do need good people. I really hope that somebody listening to this is like gonna like bite the bullet and just run.
Let's hope.
So maybe you.
Yeah, no, never gonna happen. I think you have more influence in culture. Like, I don't know, I like being a part of culture. I don't want to be a part of politics. I don't want to be a part of like telling people what to do. I want to be a part of like reflecting on what people do and what we love. And to me, that's way more fun than making rules. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, it doesn't appeal to me at all. I ran for office in the 7th grade. I lost. I started skateboarding
So
basically
much more
quit
fun,
team
right?
sports after that and just, I'm like, do my own thing. And science is fun because there are definitely rules, but there are rules around trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
And no one becomes and stays a scientist if they don't really want the truth.
Yeah.
Because in the end, like, there's no real incentive for figuring out stuff that's not true.
Yeah.
Every once in a while you hear of these people. It turns out that 90% of the time when people commit scientific fraud, they're medical doctors who get into science. They're not pure scientists. And guess what? They get caught and they do it again. They get rehired and they do it again. I have a friend who knows this area like sport, and he's brilliant. He loves telling stories about all these people who get caught doing terrible things like falsifying data, and they do it again and again and
Why
again.
do you think that is?
I think it's a compulsion. I think it's like the people who they're just delusional. I think the game for them becomes trying to get one over on people. It's not really about.
And why are medical doctors more prone?
Egos. Doctors come in two forms, and I think there are many, many excellent doctors who have incredible bedside manner, really care about their patients. And then there are a lot of them that would like to be well-known and famous, and it's very hard to be well-known and famous in that profession. And doctors who go into science oftentimes get a little bit of a boost because their training is unique and special. And for whatever reason, when you look at data fabrication, more often it's medical doctors turned scientists than pure scientists.
Wow.
But I do want to say that, again, not for political reasons, but most doctors, probably 99% of doctors, are very well-intentioned and very, just trying to help in whatever field they can. Right. Oftentimes very unhealthy themselves. I see that a lot. I look at some of the doctors. Stanford is different. To be fair, like, people pay more attention to their health, I think. But sometimes I see, like, I've seen dentists with bad teeth.
Yeah, that's wild.
So it's weird, right? And people always go, it doesn't compute.
Yeah.
But anyway, who knows?